Okay, before we start in this next operating round, rules correction, my fault. For whatever reason, and I probably read it correctly when I was going through the rules, but it got into my mind that stock prices moved to the right only if you exceeded the stock value. So there was a time where one of the corporations, at least, the designer pointed this out to me, should have moved forward and did not. They held stable. As long as you put out at least half the stock valuation, you can hold your position, which makes swallowing a little more now. I was going to say something that doesn't make sense, but anyway, I'm going to leave things as they are, but try to play by the rules. I don't know why that got stuck in my head, but the rule book, this, and prior games that have this kind of mechanism work on that half. I guess the thing is, I haven't played too many of those games too often. I've played a fair amount of those games, I just haven't played them very often. I'm more in that straight 1830 mindset most of the time. Wow, do I want to start? Another thing that was cleared up, and this is hard to understand, and I finally got a resolution on what the designer actually intends with it, which is as soon as you buy it as a public, you must place this. As soon as a public corporation buys it, they must reserve a location for the SD marker. How that affects some of the others, though, is kind of in question, because it could be that wording of should. No. No, it is clear. After buying the private, the investor immediately place the black plus SD token on any mineral hex on the board. Yeah, I think that's just me again. I should have been able to read that correctly. I don't know why I made it a hold off thing. Probably because I kind of like it. I think it's kind of cool. It would be hard to necessarily define. So for example, it might have ended up here, but it could have ended up here or somewhere else. That extra flexibility, I don't think that's going to be too big an effect on play overall. I'm not seeing this guy as surging into the lead, and certainly not by his delayed ability to place this. But that's to give you a little bit of idea on that. Let me take a look at the research one. Is that worded in a similar way? No, that appears to be an option. So I did that one right. And being able to withhold it was for good or ill, because this would have made me more money and might end up being more valuable overall if I can't get this double hit here. And the nice thing is, whoa, what the fuck? What is this shit? Okay, there are tokens, there are tiles that I don't understand. What does it mean for there to be two separate dots like that? I'm going to assume they should be joined together, as in a double city, kind of like this one shows. But this one looks like kind of a misprint with the black dot inside one of them. So there might be a printing error there, or those might be upgradable to double cities, in which case, wow, lots of people could get lots of money off of this, and I just created that whole side of the world into something yummy, which would be interesting. Luckily, so one of the things is there are I've mentioned this before, there are a lot of double dot markers, but they're not going to come into play like this one. It's gone from the game. It can't replace either of those tiles. This one, well, this is an upgrade for that. That's fine. This one, nope. Okay, so this one cannot possibly be upgraded any further, which is okay because it's a yellow space. So that's kind of cool. Since I can't go to brown, I can't possibly go to gray, which wouldn't have worked anyway. But yeah, there are a lot of different paths there. I feel like a lot of the limited track is used up on those options. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. There better be a double dot on here. Okay. Yeah. We're into a difficult position here with the Intergalactic. I did a upgrade, get myself the most money immediately. I get up to 180. I can pay that out and make some nice money, get some money in my pocket. My intention was to swallow and grab the last of these, and I think I'm still going to do that. But the reason it's not necessarily great is if I do that swallow, I am almost at the money for this, which is a slightly better train for the long term. But I'm going to make some rocking good money with 2 trains if I can keep that going. I'm probably not going to. This is probably going to go first. Gives me also some cash for, investment opportunities to invest in the infrastructure, which isn't very good right now. This is a corporation that has to work its way to the rocket launch pad. So, and I put more pressure on the system overall if I force somebody to buy one of those trains. Maybe getting myself a couple of runs with that orange and green together. Russia is now causing DSE problems. I'm only running a 3 train. That gets me a grand total of 13 a share. Whoop. Whereas coming out of here, if I had done the upgrade, I could have been getting 80, 110, 16 a share. Not hitting this twice. This is my goal though. I gotta stick to it. I gotta get more training though. And that is a problem because with only 130 bucks, that's shitty because of this. 50, 130. Son of a bitch. With only 130 bucks, I'm not anywhere near the amount that I need to pay my bill. And it's coming up. My only hope is that no one can make it right now. So I am going to actually pay out, hoping to get to a point where I can make the big run. I don't know. I don't see it being possible anytime soon though. Is if I keep swallowing at this point, I'm not in good shape as a player. I might get lucky and be able to do a single swallow purchase of that train. So I'm just crossing my fingers and hoping for the best. I do have 40% in here. That helps a lot. And that puts us to the MA next. MA and the ME are following a similar strategy of paying out with fairly low runs, 11 and 13 respectively. And, I got 2 corporations heading into the dumpster, so that's a big problem. That second corporation is, wow. I mean, I've got some cash on here, but I'm just not, the mid-game feeder doesn't work. I think that's clear. Possibly an end-game feeder. That space mining, if somebody could have started it high enough, maybe. We'll probably see that as a bailout for someone available who's got first shot. Well, it looks like Brown does, for whatever that's worth. Okay. And that puts us on LP, who has lots of choo-choos and a capacity to buy because you can dump, you can buy a train as long as you have one that's being destroyed. It's kind of weird. I don't have any shares in there, so I'm looking at swallow time probably. It definitely seems like this is that moment. No, the only 2 sharp angles in the game. No, that doesn't count. The only 2 sharp angles in the game are gone. That's what I would have needed to hook this up real quick. So no quick money that way. No quick money through an upgrade. The LP did swallow. It was a hard call because I don't have enough to buy that train. I might have. It's unlikely I'd get a big enough swallow next time. But it means I'm taking 2 swallows instead of 1. But I just cannot afford to pay out and take that dump. I may be doing okay. But here's the thing. The Moon Venture and Intergalactic both have a permanent train on them. They're safe. Those players are not going to take a bath. They might end up losing their capacity to make good runs or whatever as they're running their little 5 train. But in this game, the train rush is so harsh, excuse me, that, you know, you just can't take a chance. You can't. Other people who have not been swallowing, they're taking the chance because they don't really have an option. They're going to come in really low on the finishing if they start swallowing continuously. But 2 swallows by the LP, that's pretty promising to get themselves a good permanent train. And they still conceivably, although it's not going to happen, would get more runs. The grays are going to come out as soon as the browns hit, just because of the amount of trains that start falling at that point. V, although it's got some extra cash on hand, is, wow, and they actually have 80 more bucks available. However, which results in a UN transport purchase at the start of 5. So, if I don't connect this, I'm screwed. I don't get that bonus. But I think it's more important to make run money at this point. I got my permanent train. I'm just going to run for the win, basically. And so I spent my track lay to increase my run. You know what? I think I'm not going to do that. I'm gonna get my hook up because I'll get the 80 extra bucks. That'll be useful. Yeah, let me reverse that. Turns out there's only one track that could have helped me, which is that one. I'm not going to hook up in time, so I am going to lose the UN contract advantage, which means a train doesn't get destroyed, which I really, really would have liked. There's nothing I can do, though. I don't have open track that'll get me to hook up any of those off-map areas. You know, I've been sitting there all game thinking I could do this anytime I want. Well, no, there was only one piece of track that could do it, and that piece of track is currently in use. So, yep, screwed. Which means no 80 bucks, no destroy another train, which speeds up, you know, that guarantees that this goes forward in the next operating round. I can't do it. I'm fucked. All right, well, that's the end of the operating round. Actually, we should do this one, because this one's already on the board. We slide down there, and we flip things over, and yeah, the UN contract just goes away with no effect. Harsh. I got it off last time, but I'm not sure the guy who did it particularly wanted to do it. Here, I don't know. It was still kind of a tough decision because I'd be making a little bit less cash. That 23, seriously, that only moved me forward 1? Or did I only move it forward 1? I think I should have been moving it forward another space. That 23 a share, you know, 22 a share would be almost as good. And I think that's what I would end up with. Because instead of hitting here, I'd be running 1, 2, 3, 4. But yeah, track's not available. Can't do it. Screwed again. You really have to take that track into account for so many things. You know, I'm looking at my long-term track prospects and everything, wanting to go through here or whatever. That is not as, you know, it's not the only impact on those track hits. Point DSE knows it's screwed. I can see a pile of money on Lunar Power. That means they're a swallow away from buying. Elsewhere, there's money gathering up. I think this is the moment where I have to swallow. Even though I'm only adding 60%, that's money, you know, that otherwise comes out of my pocket for 30% of the corporation. So it's not worth paying out. To say, I'm finding this really kind of disturbing, actually. The fact that this tile does not upgrade, no matter what, I mean, the double dots, there is not one that will upgrade this. Not a single one. There should be at least one upgrade for each one. So this one upgrades that. It doesn't make sense to me. It's like there's an error. So I've got this upgrade for that. I've got this upgrade for that. I've got this upgrade for that. And then I have this, which I don't think actually... It may upgrade one. I don't know for sure. Actually, I think yeah, I think this one's an error. I think there should be a track there that upgrades that just was not produced. So that's something that should be fixed. It's as though you know, one or the other, a decision was made to maybe pull some ooh tiles, I call them, the double dots, because they used to have double zeros on them in 1830, and the wrong pairing was chosen. So this should definitely be replaced. That's going to hurt DSE in this game. I would hope to see that fixed later. Runs, setting this up to leave more dots open because I'm not planning on playing dots if I can help it. I'm going to need one down here, and I would rather not spend on a second dot. Swallowed 120 bucks. That's not a whole hell of a lot. I could get enough cash over here to ensure the purchase of a 6 train, and I think that's what I want to do. It takes away Mineral Express's run though, so if their run is enough that they can buy this, I don't want to do it yet, but I got problems otherwise. And the problem is I don't have a permanent train between those two corporations, and I don't have enough money to buy more than about one. So let me calculate out what Mineral Express does, but if it's not enough that they can just swallow and buy the big train, I'm going to have to transfer money over there, steal their train, and set them back, you know, a space. That hurts me overall, but I need to be absolutely certain I get one of these brown trains. It sucks. The best run I think I can get is 140. I swallow that. That's 440, 450, 537. I need 540. I'm $3 short. There is nothing I can do to make that ground up. I can't transfer money immediately in. So I think I'm going to have to buy that green train, and that's going to cost me that 140 bucks, well, of run that I otherwise would have gotten in order to get this train. But that is life. The harshness of the tracks available forces Intergalactic to build a kind of crappy little run for itself. And paid about 23, which is a good amount of money. But I've got my two big trains there. I could have maybe done something more impressive. No. It's just cash going into pockets at this point, but some of it's going in here, but there's no way I'm swallowing. I'm running for the future, you know, or for victory. And then ME crashed, had to buy their train. I left $1. Another option would have been to pay some out of pocket. I could have maybe put a dot down here or something that maybe I want. I'm not so sure though. Chances are I can get the dot, so I'm kind of like, screw it. Because it doesn't look like anything's going to break in. And I also have MA and ME, and I kind of don't want a lot of dots going on down here, because then I have to duplicate them with both corporations. And they obviously didn't get to run at all. That gets me to MV, who's down to their single permanent train now. And then LP, who's got looming issues but a lot of cash. LP closes things out. They actually set themselves up to block this space a little bit, make it less likely. What I'm looking at is, hey, I'm making it kind of calmly. Who else is? Moonventure is definitely making it kind of calmly. There's not much I can do about them. They already have their little yellow choo-choo indicating that they've hit the launch pad. That's great. I essentially have it because I have the spaceport over there, so I don't need to actually hit it. But by blocking this, maybe I'm making Intergalactic's job a little harder. Maybe I'm making whoever starts SM a little harder because I'm not going to have the cash to start them. That's pretty obvious. Whoever might get it. I'm looking elsewhere. So $730. Well, if I can put, you know, a decent number of shares out at a high enough value, that's easy to reach. So it's not like in some games it may be very, very difficult to get a corporation floated at the end, but there's not a lot of cash here either, so you're going to have to rely on that, you know, throwing a lot of cash, a lot of shares into the open stock market, you know. But the best you can do is 900 because the stock value is not very big. You need some tokens and everything, so you know it could be a little tight for a starting corporation. But you know, if you start it, even here, if you're willing to pay a little price, but if you started at $80 a share and you can get all 10 shares out, that's fine. But you probably can't get all 10 shares out. So let's say you can only get 8 out at 90. That puts you close. You'll still be paying a little bit out of pocket. So that's kind of a painful thought. Starting that last corporation on the grays, it's not easy. Usually, I think it's going to start somewhere down here. The way things worked, it had the choice between here or nowhere, basically. It may have been able to buy a 5, and I think it was, and cause serious problems, though, for whoever bought it. So it did not seem like a good idea. So it may just not start because it starts so late. It's a lesson I learned last time. Obviously, this guy did not learn it, that building that second corporation is really an iffy thing. I think we're done with the operating round. And we go into stock round 2, which means only one more left. One impact. This shows up in other games too, but when you make the initial offering, the corporate held shares, and they produce money for the corporation, and you make the open market, bank held shares that just dump money into the bank or don't generate money for anyone. You take away one of the powerful tools of feeder lines and running companies into the ground and stuff like that 1830 allows. The games which don't have the open market, because it's hard to buy back shares, even if you're looking at an 1870 style buyback shares. The games that don't allow you to just dump shares in here and make money for the corporations, which never made a lot of sense to me, but they have a very different mechanism as to how, you know, you keep your corporations afloat. And I've played so much 1830 that my mindset is always on 1830, and I have to kind of break it when, you know, I make errors based on my 1830 assumptions that don't apply in many, many games. So the stock round presents an interesting challenge. Quite often, all the good shares are gone when, you know, you're coming towards that end game. And starting a new corporation is not a bad choice, at least for somebody. I'm not so sure here. This is not a bad company. However, it may have difficulty getting to the rocket launch pad. I don't see a definite route. I have to blast through 2 upgrades and get the dot in place in that direction. This direction, I'm blocked because, perhaps, although this dot may get me in there. But that requires an upgrade, a track lay, a dot, and then another upgrade to get me in, which I probably should be able to manage one way or another. So long as the spaceport isn't used, which is Lunar's hands, and they haven't laid that track yet. They never have to. This may always be closed. because privates don't disintegrate. So when this becomes important, it remains valuable, which is one of the reasons the designer is obviously choosing, to have different rules for each of the privates. It makes sense. I just think in order to do it, something better than a bunch of text has to be done in order to convey that information. Maybe some iconography to indicate which operating round this disappears in. Maybe just boldly highlighted coming out of the text or something like that. But something has to direct your attention to it better. Now, obviously, that's worse for me playing it solo than if everybody's running their own companies, except for one thing. I've noticed that people have a very good ability to, including myself, to not notice some things. They want to hide them from their own head, and because it's going to impact them, and unless other people are watching them, it just doesn't happen. Anyway, what I'm looking at is the fourth player here, who has some money, not much, $175, but I have 3 shares of MV, that's 300. That gets me to 475, a lunar that I probably don't want to sell because it's pretty good and is going to be growing quite quickly. Okay. Now, one of the other things is the number of shares is a limitation in any XX game. It's still 1 here. 10 certificates is still a problem. So that double share could be important, but maybe not if you have to hold, 50% of the corporation. But you might be able to start a corporation at 30%. But what we're looking at is not so easy with the grays out here. So you're probably holding like 40% at least, at a minimum. Okay, let's take a look. So what I'm looking at is 300, 475, 485. All right. If I bought 5 shares at 485, because there's a lot of operating rounds left, 5 shares is, I could actually buy them at 90. So if I sold everything off, I could get that new corporation. What is that going to do? Well, it's not going to come up with a shitload of money for the DSE, but I might end up with a shift in trains. Of course, the DSE has to go first, which means no, I will not, because it doesn't have a train on it. The new corporation won't have a train. There's no opportunity to shift the money. So, yeah, this has to stand on its own unless I want to do a swap later, which is always a bad idea. What's its capability for using a big train? Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. That's kind of the answer. I might be able to get a long run or something. The big thing is I got to make sure I get that first. And if I get that, I might be able to get the red to green run going. If I'm cutting through here anyway, this looks pretty open. Huh. 1, 2, let me see, 1, 2, 3. How am I getting down there? 4 at best, 5, 6, 7, 8. So yeah, I clearly have enough train to get that whole thing. Probably too much train. These are 10s. Gosh. On the other hand, there's plenty of stuff out there. I've got a lot of shares of Moon Venture. Moon Venture, how's it doing? Yeah, it's maybe not the best thing out there. I can buy shares of DSE and cut down on the pain I'm going to face. That seems appealing, but I'm fine if somebody else wants to buy those. What are they running at? They're running at 110 each, so I could only buy one of those shares unless I sell something. So you see, the kind of balancing act you have to make in this final share round. I think what I want to do is I want to get cash into DSE and reduce my exposure as much as possible. And let me figure out how I want to do that. It may involve selling a share of a Moon Venture. No reason to sell 2. And then trying to dump the extra 20% in there. Over here, not a lot of opportunity to do much of any interest. Yes, I could throw more money into my corporation, but that doesn't really do me any good. I'm not going to get enough to get another train. Not enough cash to start another company. I've got these crappy LPs, so I bought an MP or MV. Now I go over here, and he doesn't look like he has a whole shitload of money, but he might. Because, let's see, Moon Venture is 90. This puts him to 210. He's got over 300 bucks. Over 300 bucks at 90. Not enough. Yeah, I don't have enough money to double things. The 600 bucks isn't going to do it. So, and I can't afford to sell the LPs because if I do, someone else could conceivably end up with ownership of it. It's unlikely because it's spread out in such a way. But I just don't think that the advantage out of getting that other company is worth it. So then again, looking to see, hey, what are the good buys? Intergalactic, well, Intergalactic is going to lose a train, and Lunar Power is going to lose a train. Those trains are going to fall. Deep Space Enterprises guarantees that. So, or Explorers. So it's more, hey, where's the good route? Where's the good gain? So LP is guaranteed to be going forward too for quite some time, but I can't buy any more of that. So then I kind of start looking at some of the others. And MV does not look bad, to tell you the truth. But it doesn't have as big a train as some of these others are going to have. So, you know, am I interested in a DSE? Not one from there. One from here. Because overall that'll help me. This has to buy a train no matter what. So I don't want to help them with money into that by giving them this. I leave more shares in there, so then they have more dot capability, more build out capability, everything like that, so they can increase their value better. I'm actually not entirely unimpressed with DSE. I don't have a whole shitload of money though. I'm not sure. That Intergalactic's not looking too good to me. Right now, for player number 3, and the thinking in this game is just a little different because of the way you release those stocks to the open market. That's a really weird mechanism for me to understand, and I'm just unused to it, is basically what it comes down to. So this guy has enough cash to get himself up to 420 bucks. We did the exchange there. He's got enough money for another share, but he wanted to dump the IG before it went dead and whatever. The 420 is kind of problematic because I have to start at 80 or 90. Anything less than that is a problem. Well, 420 would be great if I was buying 6 shares at 70, even 5. But instead, it's not too bad at 80. I buy 5 shares at 80, that's 400. All the certificates end up released. Could it be 80 bucks less? I could be 80 bucks less and leave a certificate in there, in the bank pool, not release them all. And I'd only lose 10 bucks for putting that in there, which is probably wise. Because here's the thing. Space mining is going to need, if I put all the shares out there, space mining is going to need some money to do stuff. Lay track, drop dots, things like that. $800 says I'll only have 70 bucks for the rest of the game. However, $0 means I can't do anything that costs me money on the first operating round, you know, first 2 really, until I make a run. So that's kind of problematic as well. So how good is the stuff that's out there? Because I only have 200 bucks. Intergalactic's not that terrible. I could always exchange it. The DSE, well, I don't want to own 2 DSEs. I will end up owning the corporation if I buy a second one. So definitely that's out of the question. Other stuff out there is good. I have the most money. I don't have to shake things up. I'm going to go with on a 1. I buy the last corporation, but I don't think it's a great buy. And so I'm not judging in that. So now I start evaluating the corporations, which ones I think are best. I think DSE is the best. Lunar's not available. Moon Venture. I already have a lot of my Moon Venture, but I'd like to sell it out. That actually is probably my best move, is if I can sell it out. Doesn't mean I want to buy a share immediately. It means I want to save at least $10. So we're looking at 10 extra bucks for an MA. I do not like how MA is set up. Especially given that it doesn't have its permanent train. Wow, that's a piece of crap. Okay, so ME looks like the only choice I have, really. And that's only 90 bucks. So yeah, we're going to buy the ME share. And we're just going to buy it from here. That'll give it more money to play with. I mentioned this before, that ME, they got a misprint on all the stock certificates. They say Space Mining on them. The Space Mining ones also say Space Mining, so it's not too confusing. The color is what determines. That gets me up to the top. Geez, he's in a world of hurt. So his MA is about to run into hell. It's got a lot of value on it. Nothing I can really do about it. Definitely buying another corporation is not going to get me a lot of money, even if I had the cash for it. These LPs, they're not going to run. What's going to run before MA? Intergalactic is the only thing that's going to run before MA. And Intergalactic's actually going to make some money. So I may be the guy who starts picking those suckers up. Problem. Crap. I've only been buying one certificate at a time. Yeah, so he wanted to buy that MV, I'll tell you that much. I don't know if every player has been doing that. That is, again, a very weird little flavor to the game that it's hard to remember. Really hard to remember. He's out of cash. Did he want to buy something in addition? 50, 65. He doesn't have the cash to do so, so I'm assuming no. I am working on blue right now, I think. I got my orders all wrong. What the fuck? Right? Yeah, I'm working on blue right now. That's all fine. This is the one guy. He would have had enough money to buy something else. What else did he want to buy? I don't know. He does not want the second DSE. He probably would buy an ME. So let me get that out of his hands. Okay, so what he did was he dumped his Mining Alliance shares. If somebody wants it, they can have it. Goodbye. It was a mistake to start, and bought himself some Intergalactics, because the Intergalactics are going to make him some cash, and that'll help offset the losses he's going to take there. This is really a situation where he's going to be probably close to bankrupt, but not quite there. Doesn't really matter. He's screwed no matter what he does, and some people would just say, fuck it, I'll just run into the ground and kill my company. But I don't like to do that. I like to finish as well as I can. That means we're back around, except corporations have a chance to buy shares. Now, this is where it's interesting. There are corporations with piles of money that they may actually want to use, including DSE. DSE could buy an Intergalactic, make some money off of that, and then sell it when it's forced to do its purchase. So there's definitely corporations that want to do the investment here. So I gotta kind of do that. Pushing through some of those corporate purchases DSE bought. Most of the companies are actually buying. They have the extra cash. They're gonna make some extra money off of it, and who knows what they can do with it. But right now they don't need the cash on hand. But obviously MA is an interesting question. ME didn't have enough cash for it. MA is an interesting position though, because DSE bought the Intergalactic because they know it's going to run before them and make money. But MA can see they're going to sell one of these. And the question is, well, how much money does Intergalactic make? It's going to be making $20 minus 10. But it might sell out, which would make up for that. That's kind of the iffy thing. Which corporation hasn't gone? Lunar hasn't gone. Lunar only has a small amount of money. They're not going to be able to buy anything that big. They might be able to buy an MA for whatever that's worth, which I don't know. That I might be better off holding my cash, but I have no income whatsoever if I do that. And all I can do is really, I have enough for my dot, and that's pretty much it. $10 I can blast through one of these. That's all she got. So that puts the MA in a position where, okay, well, what's the next thing that runs before me that makes good money? Well, DSE is going to lose money, so I don't want that. MV is sold out. ME is all that's available, so I'll buy one of them, I guess. It's an iffy choice because it throws some cash into ME that I can use right away to build things with ME so I don't have to get that first run. It makes up for the fact that, you know, I was down to $1 for a train transfer. But it does add exposure. That's going to drop the stock value of ME. Maybe it'll make it up, but I doubt it. Without space mining getting built, maybe it's a good enough corporation that it'll end up sold out. But yeah, we're going to go ahead with that. The only other option is to buy the Intergalactic and just say, you know, screw it. We'll take the hit there. You know what's kind of nice about the Intergalactic is that I'll be selling these shares at the same time. As far as I can understand the way the game works. So they would all drop at the same time. That might actually be a reason. Because I'm going to be selling some Intergalactics anyway. Crappies. I don't know. So indeed we switched to that and had the Intergalactic do that. And that means now we're back up here, player 4. Black sheep, I don't know. I got $65. That's enough to buy an LP, but I don't have any LPs. I could sell something and buy something. I think I'll just pass. And we'll see if anybody does anything. Gall was here. He's the only guy who has enough money to do anything, and it has some incentive too. He has these crappy LPs that are worth 50, but they're going to go up $10 in price because it's actually sold out. I'm just going to hold what I have. It's the only thing I have enough money for another share on. Trying to optimize how much you get just before you crash is kind of iffy. Something goes away. The UN project, is that gone yet? What about this? This is at the end of round 5. And this lasts forever, so we're good. I already took care of the UN project, I guess. Back here it dies under one condition, it dies under another condition over at the other one. Again, a lot of complexity to these privates, more than I think there should be. And I guess we'll run through these operating rounds. Okay, so pushing into operating round 5, they count down backwards. Private companies still paying out some cash. Some of them, you know, and the spaceport will for the rest of the game. The number goes away. I forgot to raise the stock values of the MV and LP on camera. I just caught that. I quite often catch issues like that where, I walked away too soon, you know. And so we'll start looking at the corporations, and this is going to be a big turn because the 10s are going to come out. And those, what, 4 trains are going to finally die. And there's no trade-in like there is in 1830. The train rush is harsh, and it's harsh on everyone, and there's very few tools that you have to make it less harsh. Sometimes those tools don't go very well in 1830 or in other games, but here I'm finding it very, very difficult to find some kind of thing that I can grab purchase, buying another corporation or whatever. The game just does not allow for much of that creativity that at least I'm finding. Arctic built this up, which is not good. It lowers the value of it and dropped a dot on it. The reason being, there are no grays available, and this gets me over to this side of the board maybe a little more easily than other things. I don't know, this may have been a waste. I may be regretting this, but I got enough cash for that next dot too. Not much else I can use the cash for because I only have one company, corporation, because although I might buy space mining, who knows. I'm gonna have tons of money. Depends on what's available, and yeah, I mean, like, MA may not exist, right? And let's see. I ended up paying out $25 a share. This is my probably only time I'm going to run that big run, which is another reason this is kind of iffy. But what else was I going to do? Again, I couldn't upgrade and open that up. I could have set it up so that I could shoot up this way, but the problem with that is that comes out of this dot. That only improves me a little bit. They're really, this is the space I want it with a dot on it, and I've been wanting it for a while and just have not been able to upgrade it. And, you know, leaving this open might have been enough. I don't know. I may need that dot, and that dot may hurt other people. So good enough. We'll leave it as it is. That created some cash for everybody else, and by going way up in stock value, we're going to see people made some cash off of it as well, so that the sell-offs aren't going to be so bad. If MA is the first one that has to sell off, DSE goes before it. Cool. So DSE gets to sell its 1 share before MA gets to drop basically 3 shares of this and just tank it as low as it'll go. See, I have some problems. No shit. So I do have this. That might solve problems. I don't know. But I'm looking at, hey, I'm going to have a big enough train. I might be able to run across there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's not so bad. Except for the regolith. Takes a while to get up to moderate value, but whatever. And I'll be running through a bunch of crap. Again, whatever. 10 train is going to have trouble getting a lot of good things. But you know what? I'm really worried that that may not be where I want to go. So what I'm looking at is, to do that, I need kind of a sharp hook here or a sharp hook here, and there aren't any left. All I got left if I want to build a new track is a wide curve, which, I don't know, I mean, maybe I can control this, but probably not. All kinds of bad stuff is likely to happen. I don't see much chance of hooking that dream setup together very well. And now it's time to start looking, you know, are any of these in use? It's not this one I want, but the opposite. There's only going to be one of them. Yeah, I don't see it right now. Let me look again. I don't see one missing, so that's a sign that there's probably one in there. That's not the piece I need, though, because all I have left are these yellow curves, and I can only place it like this. So what I need is this piece, and that means I don't want to do anything down there. So I don't know, maybe I can't upgrade anything to brown, to gray yet. I don't want to upgrade this, not that I'm allowed to. That's kind of cool in a way because I keep the value up. Otherwise that would drop to shit. Gosh. Well, I'm probably going to be riding through here, so let's upgrade that if I can. Right, and after selling off the Intercontinental or Intergalactic, I also sold off a Moon Venture. This is kind of iffy. So here's the thing. I dropped the value of my Moon Venture that I'm holding to do that. But the reason is I think LP is going to be making more money for its share than the MV is. But is it actually more money? It's hard to tell. Since each of these is only $10 a space, I think it's more likely so that actually having things in the low value means that they can gain more. So I'm holding on to the LP, dumping the MV. I'm a little worried about him. He's in good shape. I don't know how worried I am about him. He's got a lot of shares of something that could be valuable. So whichever way you want to cut it is how you want to cut it. Track-wise, I built the upgrade here. I didn't want to pay out of pocket for the token. Yeah. I'm going to be getting cash soon, but I buy the first gray, and that gets rid of the greens. So far, I think only one person has gotten their yellow chew last time. There's only 3 of these. Cool. And that puts my ordering up to the MV again, I believe. Gotta check because there's so much space between the things. It's hard to tell. I guess I can just follow the diagonal, but I'm not good at that. So yeah, now it's up to the MV, but gray tiles are available now. The upgrades this drops a dot. They're paying out 20 a share, and indeed paying it out, which helps the Intergalactic somehow a little bit. And now we're on the ME, which again, that has a running train. What are we looking for? This is the one that's going to crash. It comes right after it. Not in a position where, you know, what money there is over there. So we'll see what happens. Melee's track through here, which is pretty valuable to it, and they want a dot there. They have stocks. They might be able to buy a dot. They could have bought it right away, but the problem was I am $1 above. I would have had to sell an additional share. Now, I could have sold the ME instead of an LP, but instead I went with this. Obviously, I'm going to come in last unless somebody else manages to tank. I've got 5 shares total. No one else is anywhere near that low. They're not in terrible shape. One of them is on a monster train, but other people can buy more shares than I'll be able to at the end of this set of operating rounds. So it's just a matter of, well, at least I didn't go bankrupt for whatever that matters. And now we finish up with the LP, who actually has money and a dot and can do interesting things. And the LP is able to set up a big 27 a share run, which, you know, shoots their valuation up. And the guy who had to sell 2 of them is kind of depressed because there's no way his ME is going to make that kind of money, I don't think. And there's actually, well, that was around 24. It might get up there. But the LP is definitely set up rather nicely, it turns out. Being able to hit this plus 20 marker here, although ME set itself up so it can hit it at least once. You know? And LP can only hit it once because only the DSE can be here, can hit it twice, well, can hit it twice going in this direction because there's no upgrade tiles that work from green to brown for that, even though there's a gray tile that would replace a brown tile that doesn't exist. Definite snafu there. Yeah. And that'll push us into operating round 4, and that kills the Space Bridge Company at this point. So no more big cash from that into the MA. So everybody survived, which I kind of wasn't expecting. I thought this guy was doomed. And we got some time to put together some money and then try some final investments. Into IG, and we're a little worried about our situation. So here's what sucks. This is a yellow. I would decrease my track value if I try to branch out of here. Not so much if I branch out of here, which is I think what I'm going to try to do, but there could be problems in that direction. But I'm having a hard time getting here if LP never plays the spaceport tile. By controlling that, and they have no interest in really playing it, they don't need it for themselves, they just have this dominating position in terms of, yeah, you're shut down, you know. And that closes off for a lot of people, to tell you the truth. DSE isn't able to get down there except through this route, if they can hook this up. And even then, they don't immediately get there, or by just shooting straight down, either of which could happen, and they may try to effectuate that pretty quickly. Obviously, the MVME, MA, if it can keep this open, I'll get a run going through there, but INT is probably the most troubled of all the corporations that are out there now, and Space Mining would be in trouble if it comes in, which is another reason not to start it, because the cost for this, at least tentatively, it's not written in the rules, is 10 spaces on the stock market. Even if you only have a few shares, you can't afford to just have your stock value wiped out that way. So I really doubt SM is going to start unless there's some kind of clear opening where they can obviously get in. And I think INT has to work to get in there rather than improve its routes, what it would normally be doing at this stage in the game. I see that I cheated when I played that INT dot. I assumed I had the Horns of Happiness here that I don't have. I think I'm just gonna see, they did the upgrade to allow them to place it in there. It fucks everything up. When you catch something like this, geez, I don't know what to do. Currently, they still couldn't play it there because of the way the tracks are designed. I'm gonna sell them back that piece, but so they get $50 back, and try to deal with it as best as I can. They made too much money, but that impacted so much stuff. It impacted the corporate holdings and everything. So that was a major fuck up. And now I got to try to figure out what their run is going to be. 24 a share by dropping the dot here that somebody opened up for them, which is where they wanted their dot anyway. They never wanted it here, but somehow I thought I could hit it. They could not have upgraded this to gray, so they got one run that was better than it should have been, that impacted a lot of people. So for example, he would have had to sell his bigger share, and all kind of shit would happen. So there's no way to unwind it. Onward. When we look at these tracks, these become weird. So yeah, this will not work here. I'm looking at, this is kind of a wide curve and this is a wide curve, but they're in the wrong positioning, so that's not available. So this is the only track that I have available to upgrade, and I'll be doing that. V and ME were able to run at 26 a share, kicking around down through here. I'm not sure why the MV was able to run better using an orange train, because it could hit here, but I'm not sure that makes sense. Let me see. 80 and 30 is 110. I think that might be where I got wrong. 140, 180. No, I only got 24 share on the MV, and I did indeed get that. 26 for the ME by running up to here instead. I can't even hit the rocket launch pad yet, but let's catch cash while cash can be caught, although it is a little risky. It's not terribly. I should be able to get through that thing once. And that'll put us on the DSE. He ran for a big 43 a share, which in the old 1829 rules would have pushed you like 3 or 4 spaces ahead. I love those rules. They allow you to gain so much stock ground off of a big run. Of course, in the long run, it doesn't really do you any better. But in terms of short run, it's just fantastic. And then you can dump your shares, you know, of the now badly injured company that you just like bought a bunch of low-level trains on. and nobody wants to touch it. Not able to buy anything though, because all the money from my couple of shares in that were sitting there. I was out of cash, but that does mean, hey, I got another dot coming available, which could do some really nasty stuff. That Big Ten train can do some big things. That leaves me on to the MA, which also has a Big Ten train, but a lot less comfort. Now here's the problem. We have this open dot here. The MV bought one of the dots. It should probably not. Well, it should have, because he's alone there. But MA, ME, DSE, and possibly someone else might be wanting to run this little double hit here. That's a two 80s right next to each other that I can loop through. That's really sweet. The problem, of course, is I can't double back and come up this way, but it's a big terminus, LP with its big bad 6 train would love to shut these big routes down. We just had one with the MA. It made 40 a share, and it's got a lot of room to improve. It's got the capability to run through here with a couple track upgrades, for example, which will be adding another 60 by the time it can do it. So it's got a huge run on its 10 train. LP wants to cut that down. It could do that. It could certainly cut this. That only cuts one space off the tail, which isn't very much. But if it cut here, the question is there a 3-spot brown that can be played there? And the answer is not that one, but this one. This one's a 2-spotter. But that might mean, that likely means that a gray can be put in there, and once you're at gray, you're at 3 spots, so it would open up again. So that's not a permanent blocking location, and I don't have a really good block available. But if I did, I could slide into here, right? And that would allow me to run down here, drop the dot here or there, whichever one I decide is more advantageous, and get control of this little riches myself, right? Except one problem. No more straight track, believe it or not. I'm down to nothing but curves, which means, I'd have to do an upgrade. By the time I do an upgrade, who knows what happens? I'm not going to be able to get it. So yeah, I would be able to actually place this in here and conceivably upgrade another piece of track. Not that I actually need it to get that dot into play. But as it stands, I do not have the track to do. But I do have the ability to do a free track lay here and an upgrade, and I think I'll see if I can do that. And with that little move, I have my little yellow train, but I don't need it because I have the spaceport marker by the company. And the thing is, there's only a limited number of yellow trains to use for this. I could use the pale greens, but whatever. We made a 30 run, which isn't great, but I think I've cut other people down a little bit other than MV, which is kind of sweet. And see stock values increasing greatly. One of the things about this game, because of the increases, you don't see. Okay, private companies can no longer be sold to public companies. Okay, that's fine. Not an issue. One of the big things about the big stock increases in a lot of the games of 1830 or something, you see somebody who's trailing around down the bottom. They never really make it out in terms of stock value. Here, well, the stock chart is fairly flat. The values are always 10s, I think. No, they're not. They actually get lower. So you're actually gaining more stock value at the low end, but your total valuation is going to come close, which is pretty impressive. I think the 1830 stock market gets richer as you go towards the high end of it, which makes more sense because you've invested more, so you're actually increasing by a smaller percentage. Here, well, this seems actually variable. So let's see, 165 to 185, that's a $20 increase, then a $5 increase. Then a $20 increase, then a $20 increase. Something's very weird about this stock chart. I would want to think about this a little bit more. I really don't like that 185 to 190 jump. That seems wrong. Do we have anything like that anywhere else? I don't see it. Yeah. Something seems weird and wacky about this. I saw that $5 jump, and that's what told me it's getting lower, but it isn't. It's kind of mixed up. Yeah, I don't know what's up there. Why that choice was made. So, I think we got enough time to jump the stock round, and because mainly I think people are going to be investing. The choice to buy Space Mining, man, that would be a hard call to do. The track is mostly set up, but there's no guarantee you get in. And yeah, you might be able to bust in this way instead, but it's a really risky thing when it's already an iffy thing to buy with only one set of operating rounds, 3 operating rounds coming at the end. You're going to fail to make money on the first one. You're going to break even on stock value and make some money on the second one. And then it depends on what your track is like, right? It really is a big deal. You could make 1 or 2 huge runs if the track is set up well. And it looks like it could make some pretty damn big runs. And yes, those big runs would actually shoot you ahead anyway, so you wouldn't take as big a stock hit for that first round that you're out. So maybe it's a possibility. Maybe somebody wants it. I don't know. Let's see. Here's a big jump. There is definitely something out there that's worth buying. There are a couple of somethings that are out there that are worth buying. The DSEs are definitely worthwhile, and the MAs, both the things with the big 10 trains. Those are the things that are going to ramp up the most money. So, this guy can't buy DSEs, but he can buy a couple of MAs, and almost certainly the best thing, because all the prices are kind of clustered together. It's not like you have to make a big analysis on the stock price of the other companies. I wanted to say that I failed to spit out of my mouth was the fact that you can buy 2 at a time, which right now there aren't a lot of DSEs, and that's going to make a difference. So the first player is not going to be able to buy any DSEs, but he can buy a couple MAs. But, I think everybody's going to be able to get their share of MAs probably. We'll see. But with the DSEs, this guy, player number 5 here, is going to have the opportunity to buy the couple DSEs that are out there. And it's probably the best corporation that's out there. And then there's one more available for the next player in line. Well, the final player is kind of in an ugly position. He doesn't have enough cash to buy 2 shares of anything. I mean, he could sell his ME share and convert it into something else, but no real interest. And he's a little worried about it, actually, because somebody can buy. First of all, a lot of people are 20% of the MA, and he could lose control of it if he doesn't buy 2 shares. But he can also lose control of the ME, and thus, that's not that big a deal, except that they're kind of cool working together. What is that big a deal, though, is somebody else can steal the extra certificate by buying that. So that's kind of an interesting factor. When I look at what I've got, I can't buy a DSE. They're all sold out. I think I'm just going to buy an MA and hope for the best, basically. The option for him would have been to buy 2 LPs, which are a little cheaper, but he didn't have the cash for that either. Buying 2 shares of that would have given him a better increase than just 1 share of something. He might still be able to do it. Oops, I forgot. I put the money in the bank instead of where it belongs. That's $90 in here. I don't know how much those help. They definitely did at one point. And now the corporations can buy. And you can say, well, come on, why do the corporations, if they have money, they have enough money to buy shares? Here's why. This is an interesting point in the game. Yeah, just like in an 1830 game, the order in which the corporations go in this late operating round is going to be really, really important. Possibly as to whether they can upgrade this and drop the dot there, or some other equally nasty little maneuver that they could do, because everybody's got cash in their corporations now, except maybe Lunar Power. They don't have. Well, they're out of tokens anyway. Everybody else has tokens, but everybody else has cash and tokens, and they can do something. MV might be a little rough. They've got a $75 token. They don't have $75 of money, so they may want to sell their space mining in order to have enough capital. On the other hand, they may leave it there and just collect the money, but that seems unwise. But on top of that, you might reorder the price values of things by dumping shares that aren't really hurting you as a player. They're just coming out of your corporation, or buying something to increase its chance of being sold out, as well as, the cash on hand that you can get. So there's a lot of reasoning here. There's another little piece. If your corporation is holding a stock that you want to own, and you're this guy, you can assure yourself you get it. Yeah, that's a pretty minor chance of things, but it is actually the case that one of the corporations is holding a share that he might want. I don't think he particularly does. MV is not something to really be too excited about. So I'll probably actually absorb another share of something that I'm holding, in this case it's the MV, to increase its chance of going up in value, because I've got a share of that. Well, I don't know, other people have more. Should I? Nobody has less than I do except the guy who's obviously losing. Maybe that means I want to sell a share of it. But both that MV and the ME were both sold. Nothing else happened. Nobody bought any, so it wasn't as intriguing as it might have looked. There was some consideration, but in particular because player 4, who owns the DSE and had enough money to buy up an MA, chose not to. He chose not to because I'm the one getting it. Nobody else was really terribly interested in the MA. Let's see, the MA couldn't buy it. The LP has not enough money, so neither one could. So once I noted that, nobody else was going to consider it. If they had, I would have rolled a die for him, because that's information that this guy, because of his special circumstances, was considering that maybe nobody else would have realized. Which means we go back to the stock order and figure things out, and he's ready and capable of buying a couple more MAs, but 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, he's got room for him. And then he can make choices beyond that as to, is an LP or an MV better than what's out there? But he knows this much. Even though he has the cash, etc., space mining is not the deal. He's got too good a portfolio. Given that he managed to buy the presidency because of it. That guy only had 30%. Boom, it's in there. Cash is now in there. Mining Alliance is sold out and looks sweet as hell. Yeah. Have a lot of money. Number 5 player, he bought himself space mining because he didn't have enough cash even for an MV. He's down to $3. That puts us to somebody interesting, though. This guy over here. He's got a lot of LP. LP is doing okay, but it's not that great. He's got some iffy portfolio. At least the MV and S and ME are not in the same range as these. And, maybe I'm looking at 3rd place, but maybe if I kick that space mining out, I can do something good. So I need to consider very carefully, can I make space mining work? Especially under the consideration that I have LP, which probably doesn't matter much. Although I will be doing space mining and then LP. So if I have like a train shift or something, LP may be able to get that Big 10 train off of space mining. There's some pain to doing that, but it might work out well. This is where the options to float a corporation, because you get to release shares into here, all become interesting. I have $490 loose. Which is to say, if I sell the MV and the ME, which I don't consider terribly great corporations, although the MV is making good stock value, but whatever. If I sell those That's how much cash I have on hand. So I could buy 5 shares at 90 for 450. It's possible to do. Now kind of the question comes, well, what happens if I drop 130 off that? That drops me to 360. 360 says I can buy 4 shares at 90. There'll be 720. I'll owe $10 of cash there. That actually sounds like the best option that I have. If I do that, I never let LP swallow, but SM would crash twice, which doesn't sound very pleasant. I won't lose stock value on it. I gotta think, because if I have excess money left, I can buy the big train and I can buy an LP train. And LP's stock value is kind of shitty too, and then they can both run out. Basically, I'm looking at 2 swallows each time. I gotta think. So what happens if I have this? If I start here, I start above LP, except LP's not sold out. It might end up though, but I end up buying my train. LP buys the train from me without ever swallowing. Yeah, so that's what I want to do anyway. I think I want to go for it, and I think what I'll do is I'll sell just the Space Mining for $120 and start buying up. I'm sorry, just this ME because it says Space Mining on it for 120 and buy Space Mining and see what happens. Hit me, but it doesn't work, and here's why. Share limit. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 certificates. I got room for one more. If I sell this, I'm down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Great. I can buy my 30%, but then I have to sell something else to buy more. And this is getting to be a harder call, because it means that I'm going to have a lot of cash on hand left over. Right now, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I only have room for one more certificate. And I'm going to have a fair amount of cash on hand left anyway. I could buy an MV for 130. I think this is the only way for me to push to first place, and I don't think it's going to hurt me too much. Let me see. Who am I facing? I'm definitely facing this guy and this guy, but he's probably about as hosed as I am. However, he has about the same holding. Gosh. I want to try it. This is one of those, I don't feel like calculating it all out. I'm pretty sure I can't beat him no matter what. So, let's try something out that's a little wacky. So I do have to sell both 2 shares to make room for this, unless somebody else starts buying into it, which would be insane. Now, because of the way you buy shares in this, player 3 bought an ME, otherwise known as Space Mining. Filling out their portfolio, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's the best thing I could do. I don't see anything else I can do. That puts it over here. Now he's just realized, all right, this guy can buy 2 more shares of ME and take control of that and get another certificate limit out of it. Great. I'm going to lose another corporation, but there really is nothing I can do about it. One nice thing, it doesn't matter that I'm holding 30% of this corporation with him holding 50. First of all, I'm doing so poorly. Who's going to target me? There's always a cost to dumping a corporation, but also it's the last set of operating runs. It's guaranteed to be that. I know that we're not going to go any further. There's not going to be any kind of, the bank didn't break. What a shame. Like in 1830, where you're playing some guesswork with that sometimes. But what there is, by knowing that, I know that there's not going to be a chance for him to dump those shares. Now, there is one highly unlikely chance, which is, and you can engineer this, he could destroy his other corporation so that he loses the presidency of the now much healthier corporation. Again, it's not going to happen, but there are ways, in some cases, you might be able to target someone and manage to hurt them and force them to buy a new train that you could buy, but they can't. And very, very seldomly do you want to do that. But there are times when you could end up where somebody owns two corporations that are crashing, and you're thinking, you know, I don't know. It could happen in the final round. You can end up owning a corporation that you really don't want if somebody's got two corporations that are ready to crash. But nobody's in that position right now, so we're not going to worry about that. So he's just going to pass because, you know what, he wants to hold on to his MAs. Nobody's selling them. He would get rid of his MEs to pick something else up, but they're as good as anything else. He may end up dumping them and picking up some other shares. I don't know. Unlikely, though. And that puts us back to go around over here. And sorry this is taking so long, but this is a big stock round, and I probably should have held off, but now I got 3 operating rounds in the final for the last video. So it was the big move, buying the last space mining after selling whatever, the mining Moon Venture, and then dumps 4 shares into there. Again, that's how I'm reading how the rules are supposed to go. You can do it at any time during that full stock round. So you can wait until you have 40 or 50% out. Otherwise, it would be really hard to start a corporation with the Crate Trains. You just don't get enough capital. You have to be able to put 80 to 100% of the corporation into play. And this is the way that you can do that. Because unlike 1830 and other games have like floating differences as to how they're financed. So like 1856 has, at one point, you know, you can only get up to 50% of the corporate money and the other 50% is locked away. And then it becomes all the money's available, but it's always buy-in. And then it becomes you get 100% of the capital, which is a level of confusion. I'm fine with it, but it creates some weird mechanisms in the game. This has one simple mechanism that I think works really, really nicely. But that puts us on player 3, who still has cash. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Here's the problem. I have to sell a certificate in order to buy that last ME. And what can I afford to sell? Well, Intergalactics kind of suck. Actually, it's not that pretty. Intergalactic was $130. It doesn't work out. I would have to sell 2 certificates, which would mean getting rid of something good in exchange for this. That's a tough call, right? Is the extra share, the extra certificate limit that I get off that space mining presidency worth it? I'm going to say yes. Not space mining, mining enterprise. I'm going to say yes because of the double stock gains if I'm going to be getting them. And as far as I can tell, I still am, at least for a little while. Not sure how long, though. So, yeah, I think, do I want to sell a mining alliance? Do I want to sell a DSE, or do I want to sell a mining alliance? Or do I want to sell my own crappy Moon Venture and hope nobody steals that from me? I mean, it's not that bad, and people have flexibility to take it on. I'm not sure who has that kind of flexibility in terms of shares. So over here, he's got plenty of shares, but he doesn't really have money. That might actually be my best move. Sell one of my own, which is not very good, in addition to the Intergalactic, so I can buy the 2 shares so that I can trade a share in, and then I get an extra space, and I guess I buy another Minerals Express. I believe that's where we end. Nobody else Nobody else had really the flexibility to take MV away from him without giving up more than they could afford. You know, he would have had to really dump shareholdings all over the place, and some of them can't be dumped, and it just became too ugly at that point. So he was right that he could protect his moon venture, or that his moon venture was safe at 40%. And he ends up with 50% of the Minerals Express or whatever. Now we check to see what's sold out. LP is not. DSE and MA are the only ones that are. So they both go up. And we push here. This thing goes up to 60, and we load this video, which has taken much longer than it should have. All right. And then maybe tomorrow we'll be able to finish.